A small glance at Borders of Philosophy and her daughters, the sciences. We learn philosophy layer by layer. First, we take to what we understand, and upon considering that, we are now able to understand just a little bit more. Some philosophers consider that we may wish to discard the ladder once we are done using it, and even paint a ceiling beyond which things are nonsense. Ludwig Wittgenstein warns us, Wovon nicht sprechen kann, darüber muss man schweigen, which is roughly translated as, whereof one cannot speak of things with much sense, thereof one must be silent. Philosophers construct things. They do go too far, they do fall short, and they do it all the time. Socrates, who encourages us with, employ your time in improving yourself by other men's writings, so that you shall come easily by what others have labored hard for. Also adds, do not mind whether the teachers of philosophy are good or bad, but think only of philosophy herself. On the other end of the spectrum are people whose ideas are so beautiful that they make other scientists say, it lacks clinical grounding. Yeah. I really appreciate this short little ladder about growing up that Jane Loevinger created. See Loevinger's Stages of Ego Development on Wikipedia. In her last stage, she says, learning is understood as unavoidable. The unattainable is renounced. I personally think this is really beautiful and should be all over every school everywhere. We need to consider that schools are not working very well as we have them today. That scientists may be just spending too much time comparing rats to humans. Things to strive for, inspirations, projections, even daydreaming about philosophers, warriors, or superheroes are really good for us, for all of humankind. The way I learned to see science is as a product of philosophy. So if something does not fit psychology for lack of clinical grounding, it is put back into the broader field of philosophy. If Loevinger's stages of ego development are not compatible with modern psychology, then think of it as a noble philosophical system. Perhaps one pending the invention of a new field of psychology, one where rats are never used to model human behavior. On the subject of philosophy, Socrates goes on to say, try and examine her well and truly, and if she be evil, seek to turn all men away from her. But if she be what I believe that she is, then follow her, and serve her, and be of good cheer. Socrates is so wonderful here that Will Durant used his quote in his introduction to The Story of Philosophy, a very powerful book. Tragically, schools do not present philosophy correctly, in turn emerging this abomination we call academic philosophy. The best way to get at it is to start really early, and with books and lectures similar in spirit to The Story of Philosophy by Durant, Introduction to Personalities, and then Their Best Ideas, something we can grab onto and expand with. Ideas that are good for us, that move us, that inspire us, is what philosophy is all about. We should only take that which is useful to us, and never memorize something. We need to gather things that we can appreciate and understand so that we use them as a ladder where we can come back later for more, with more understanding and wisdom. There are things in philosophy that are kind of nonsense, for which there may not be time in life. We should always remember Ludwig Wittgenstein and stick to the things that work for us, that are good, that we can understand. Now, the really interesting thing is that the second time you read or listen to a book or lecture about philosophy, you will get more out of it, as you have integrated, internalized, adopted the things you learned before. What was previously difficult to grasp will now seem reasonable, and this process will continue as you internalize more and more. I will close with a thought on Jane Lovinger's work. I think in the distant future, as humanity progresses forward, her work will be recognized as something very useful. Future schools may even use stages of development as a tool used in guiding students forward, showing them where they should be headed to secure world peace, human dignity, and continued advancement of humankind.